The silent killer to real estate listings right now are changes that agents and clients are making based on anxiety and what's going on in the current real estate market. This is 5 ways that you can prepare your clients, bring the anxiety level down, and help you have a successful sale as things have slowed down a little bit. Number one is building trust with your seller even before the listing appointment. And all of this has to do with your online presence. What we're seeing is happening right now is sellers will book a listing appointment with the listing agent. Then, in between when they book the appointment and it actually happening, the sellers are going to be doing a lot of online research. If that online research doesn't give them good feelings about you as a listing agent and you as an agent in general, that's going to increase the anxiety level. So even if you do go into that listing appointment and get the listing, there's already questions that your online presence have left unanswered. That is a very bad thing. So to fix this, agents need to focus on the online presence of really how can I make myself look as professional as possible before I even sit down with these people. Making sure you have good reviews online, making sure your social media profiles are professional. They're not you out partying, doing all sorts of stuff that's going to give the impression that maybe you're not in it to win it when it comes to real estate. And setting the tone for a good transaction and really helping lower that anxiety level before it even starts. Because let's face it, as soon as it starts, there's just going to be some stress and anxiety that just comes along with that process. So if you can minimize that as much as possible, it's a great start. Number two, set realistic expectations with your sellers. And I'm seeing this one all the time. I'm hearing sellers that are really, really under the wrong impression of the current market. I'm seeing agents taking listings that are way overpriced just to get the listing. Here's the problem. Every seller right now is asking the question, why isn't my house selling like Jim's house did 3 years ago for $40,000 over list price in 2 days? And the answer is easy. That's not the market we're in anymore. The problem is we have way too many agents that aren't giving realistic expectations to their sellers and they're not setting that tone. So what's happening is it goes on the market and after they miss their unrealistic expectation of 40,000 over ask in 2 days, that anxiety level goes up. And every day that that thing sits on the market, it just goes up a little bit more. This can all be resolved by setting realistic expectations with your sellers from day one, from the start of the listing. Don't allow that to be something that's raising that anxiety level and potentially being a deal killer or something that the sellers are going to use to terminate your listing contract or not renew it when it's time to renew. Number three, and this is one that I see all the time as well with agents, is they don't talk about the bad things that could happen. Let's face it, there's a lot of things that can go wrong in the midst of a real estate listing, especially in the current market. We're seeing more deals die than we have in a long time. We're seeing more sales or listings expire, never get sold. And we're seeing sellers that are losing leverage because of the current market conditions. And so what's happening is buyers are asking for more, and the sellers don't have the negotiation power anymore to just tell them to pound sand. You need to talk about these bad things with your clients before you actually get the listing. And it's because, let's face it, in this market, there's probably going to be some bad things that happen. Now, I hope they don't for you. On my listings, I hope they don't for me. But realistically, that's not the market we're in. Once again, this is kind of setting a realistic expectation. But you need to have these conversations with your sellers because I will tell you right now, if you've had a conversation with them and prepped them for what could go wrong, and then it does, it's a much easier conversation than having to go and talk to them, explain the bad thing happened, and then explain what you're going to do about it if you've never even touched on that bad thing could potentially happen within the process of getting your home sold. The other big one is communication with your sellers through the process. This is one of the biggest complaints I hear from sellers who have had expired listings, especially in the current market. And it's just that their agent didn't communicate with them. They always are saying, well, what are you doing for marketing? What are you doing for this, that, and the other thing? Now, I heard a story recently where an agent was doing a very good job of actually marketing the home, and it was really a pricing issue, but the sellers didn't want to do anything about the price. The problem was she wasn't communicating her marketing activities. She wasn't showing them the data that she was getting. And so when she went to them for a price drop, they're like, well, you're just not marketing the home. And she said, I absolutely am. And their whole thing was, well, you're not telling us about it. And she had really good data. If she would have showed that to them and been communicating with them over time, I don't know if they would have done a price drop or not, but that anxiety level of having that conversation about the price drop probably would have been much lower. So think about doing weekly listing activity reports, telling your sellers, what the online activity is. Pull the view count from Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, pull all that data you can, pull the data from the MLS, talk about market stats. That's something, if you're communicating these things every week to your sellers, you're really going to decrease the anxiety level, not only on yourself, but on your sellers as well. And then if you do have to talk about a price drop, it's a much easier conversation when it's driven by data and not just, well, the house isn't selling. They can't come back to you and say, well, it's not selling because you're not marketing it. That brings us to the final one, and that's number five, and that is marketing outside the MLS. I don't know why we're even talking about this still in 2026, but I am still seeing so many agents that throw a sign in the front yard and throw it on the MLS and then throw their hands up and say, let's hope something happens. That is not the market we're in anymore. The technology that we have these days is so phenomenal. You can be doing so much with digital marketing, even free organic posts, those type of things can get you so much more exposure on your listing than just putting it on the MLS. This is one of those things that drives me nuts because I see this all the time and it's so easy to post about it, do ads, run all sorts of things that you can do that will get way more exposure, especially for a house that's sitting. Now, I will caveat this and I will say this all needs to be based on obviously business math and hardcore facts that you can point to keep your profitability up. So you shouldn't be running ads that are going to make this sale not profitable to you, but you should be doing whatever you can to get as much exposure as possible. That's one thing I tell agents. That's the great thing about social media. A lot of it is free. You can get all sorts of eyeballs on a property if you're a little bit creative, and you can get that house way more exposure if you're just doing things the right way and even just posting about it. The other thing, if your sellers follow you on social media, they're going to see that you're doing stuff, you're representing them, you're trying. All those type of things are going to help decrease the anxiety level. So at the end of this whole thing, I think it's all about reducing anxiety and really helping people understand that the market is different now. That means we're going to go about it a little bit differently, and you're not going to see the results that you saw 3 years ago that your neighbors got. Those are over. It's done and over with. And ultimately, if you as an agent are communicating well, keeping that anxiety low, there's a lot more potential that you're going to have that listing longer, yes, but you're going to keep it long enough that you're probably going to get it sold. But that's not if you're not managing your own anxiety and your seller's anxiety in this current market.